I don't know if as broadcasters or reporters we sometimes emphasize things beyond what they actually are, but thinking back to yesterday's game when the Giants had such an embarrassing afternoon in their 6-3 loss with the 5 errors and Felipe Alou pronouncing afterward their worst game of the season, you knew that everybody on this Giant ball club wanted to find some way to come out and make a statement and create something here this afternoon. And that's just what Jason Ellison, their leadoff man, did against Harden to start the ball game. He made a very good move, but the A's had a counter for it. Ellison just 2 for 19 against the A's this year, and he bunts. Good bunt, third base side. Chavez charges, barehand pickup throw. He got it. Holy Toledo, what a play that took to get a speedster, Ellison, who dropped an outstanding bunt. And Chavez still made the play barehanded and got the decision.
Good play to start the game. That could set the tone for the afternoon.
Oh, the man is prophetic. Harden retired the next 2 batters and eventually would throw just 76 pitches in his 7 innings of shutout baseball. But now look at the other side of the coin. The bottom of the first, Jason Kendall leading off against Brett Tomko, who over the last 3 games had an ERA of over 8. Tomko walks Kendall, and that was the overture to utter disaster this afternoon. Mark Kotsay, the next hitter. Swing, long drive, deep to right center field, has a lot of carry. It is up high on the wall. Around second to third. Here comes Kendall around third to the plate. Here comes the relay for Davy Cruz. Too late. Save sliding at the plate. Jason Kendall, double Mark Kotsay, and the A's are on the board in the first inning, 1-0. Next up, Bobby Crosby to start what would be a superb afternoon. There's a swing and a line drive. Base hit to right center field. Kotsay around third base. He'll score without a play. RBI Crosby, 2-0 Athletics. And then Tomko got the next 2 outs okay, keeping Crosby at first base until Bobby Kelty arrived at the dish. Fly ball to left, pushed in toward the line. Alou coming over, and it's a fair ball. Goes into the corner. Speeding from first to third is Crosby, coming home to score easily standing. And Kelty in at second base with an off-field double that sliced away from Moises Alou and landed a couple of feet clear down the left field line. Kelty drives in his 32nd run of the year. As if all that wasn't bad enough from a San Francisco standpoint, Moises Alou had 3 hits yesterday and had 3 homers in the season series with the A's. Led off in the top of the second inning, and turning away from an inside pitch, check swing, ball hit the bat, tapped out to the mound, pitcher to first, 1 out. And he was so disillusioned and upset. He went back to the dugout, slamming his helmet down, and then Ray Durham looked at a third strike and stood at the plate for what seemed like an eternity, and then took a slow, discouraged walk back to the dugout again. It was just that kind of an afternoon for the Giants. And then in the bottom half of the second, there was more in store for the A's against Tomko. Swisher, who was to wind up with 4 RBIs for the night, singled, and with 1 out, Jason Kendall, who was still looking for his first June RBI, was at the plate. Last RBI came on May 31st, so he's due for one here. There's a line drive into left center field. Ellison going back, can't get it. He's got the RBI going to the wall. That'll be a double. Here comes Swisher to score from second. 4-0 Athletics in the second. So Kendall breaks that RBI drought of 20 games.
We ought to send you to one of the county fairs, Bill.
Why's that?
Because you're like you can see ahead. You're a soothsayer. People would pay money for you to read into their futures.
And they might lose a lot of money in the end. Well, if they sent me to the county fair, I'd be the guy sitting back there when they fired baseballs at the target and dropped me into the water tub. With 2 out and Kendall now at third base, Crosby's at bat produced a bizarre event. Swung on a high pop-up on the infield out behind second base, and it dropped. Actually not caught at all by Davy Cruz. He seemed to be ready to catch it. He didn't shy away as if the sun had him, but it fell.
I think it might have been the sun at the last second.
Kendall walks home, and the A's are up 5-0. And Ken was right looking at a replay. He flinched just a little bit at the last second. And the A's had another indication of how it was going their way and not the Giants. Chavez on a check swing wound up hitting a little roller up the third baseline, in which Feliz had no play, and Shabby got a base hit. But the A's got no more runs in that inning, and the Giants breathed a little easier for a moment. But the third inning, still there'd be more problems for Tomko after a Kelty single opened the inning. He was okay. The next two men were out, but Scudero lined a single to right field, runners at the corners, and now Kendall was in the swing of this RBI business.
1-2 pitch. Kendall hits a drive up the middle, back at second, and by a diving Cruz into center field for a base hit. Scoring from third is Kelty. Up to second goes Scudero. Jason Kendall here in the third inning has been on base 3 times already. A single to center, and it's 6-0 Athletic.
And no RBIs for 20 games, and now 2 and 2 at bat.
Yeah.
And then Tomko walked Kotsay, and that loaded him up, and that was the end of the line for Tomko after 2 2/3. Brandon Puffer came in to get the final out, but that only delayed his miseries because in the fourth inning, when Puffer started the inning, fouling out Chavez, things began to go downhill when he walked Hatterberg. With 2 out after Kelty had grounded out, Hatterberg was at second base, and the worst was yet to come for Puffer, starting with Dan Johnson.
Swung on and driven to deep right field. Linden is going back. Linden's at the track, at the wall. It's off the top of the wall. Hatterberg will score easily, and pulling up at second with a stand-up double is Dan Johnson. 11 hits for the Athletics and 7 runs. 7-0 A's. Almost got it out.
Almost got it out? Well, what would Nick Swisher do?
1-0 pitch. Swung on, driven left field the other way. Alou going back at the track, right down the line, gone! Nick Swisher goes the other way, inside the foul pole, right over the 330 mark down the left field line. And now the rout is really on. 9-0 Athletic.
Scudero followed with a single. Kendall came up for his 4th at bat in as many innings.
This one driven to left, sinking. Alou goes into his slide, tries to backhand it, can't make the play, rolls by him, rolls to the out-of-town scoreboard. Scudero rounding third to score. Holding at second is Jason Kendall, and now the A's in the bottom of the 4th inning have reached double figures. 10-0 Athletic.
Now the A's were like sharks in a feeding frenzy. Here's Kotsay.
And now Kotsay hits one to right for a base hit. Kendall's around third, up to the ball. Linden, here's the throw to the plate. It's offline. Kendall scores, and now it's 11-0.
Crosby lined one hard, but it was out to second base, and the A's had batted around and scored 5. And A's fans were sitting back enjoying the festive atmosphere. They even had something in reserve, or had to have something in reserve for the next inning, because it even got worse yet. With Jason Christensen on the mound, Chavez started with an off-field single. Scott Hatterberg, still trying to get into the hit column, the only one who hadn't done so, was up next. Hatterberg, the only A's in the lineup without a hit. And he's got one, right center field. Long drive, bounces to the base of the ball. Coming to third is Chavez. He comes on around. There'll be no relay to the plate to throw to third. A run-scoring double for Hatterberg. He's in the hit column. All A's have hit safely. Chavez scoring to make it 12-0 Athletics. Kelty hit a high double down into the right field corner. Hatterberg stopped at third because he had to make sure the ball wasn't caught. And Dan Johnson arrived at the plate. DJ hadn't had a run batted in yet today. Well, he got one back in that 4th inning, but why not add? Line drive, base hit, right center field. That'll score 2 more. Johnson around first base stops. Both runners are in. It is 14-0 Athletics. Absolutely unbelievable. Johnson with 2 RBIs on that at bat, 3 for the day. His second hit. Well, the A's were looking awfully comfortable at the plate. Christensen hadn't gotten it out yet in the 5th inning, and not unexpectedly, he fired one at the knees of Swisher, who managed to bail out and fall into the dirt and avoid contact with a baseball. An umpire's warning went to both dugouts. Swisher got back up, and the reply was the classic baseball reply of a hitter getting knocked down. Swung on, a long drive, left center field, gone for a home run. pitches after being knocked into the dirt. Nick Swisher hammers one over the wall in left center. And the A's have two more. He has two round trippers in the last two innings. They lead 16-0, and the total hits for the game, 20, a new A's high for the year. Well, everybody by that time was exhausted. Giants, I think the A's had exhausted themselves, and the rest of the day was no scoring. The Giants bullpen keeping the A's to just 2 hits. Rich Harden, after 76 pitches through 7 innings, had allowed just 3 base runners, 1 on a hit, 1 on a walk, 1 on an error, and Ron Flores and Kiko Calero finished it off. An utterly devastating defeat for the Giants. The A's had a hit total by Bobby Crosby of 4. They also had 3 hits off the bats of Kendall, Kotze, Kelty, Swisher, and Scudero, with Swisher driving in 4 on his 2 homers today. That's about enough of that. It's interesting sometimes, you know, you look to figure and talk to people after outstanding games like this, and Ken Korak goes to the clubhouse to talk to people. Well, a lot of what's been happening on the plus side for the A's has a lot to do with what's been going on, too, with Ken Maka and his coaching staff as they have pulled them through that very difficult time in May. And Brad Fisher has been with his staff now for 10 years, and I think his impressions today as he talks to Ken will be very interesting, and we'll be back with that right